Hello, my name is Tara Lynn Smith, and welcome to Come On America, which I will be filming on Sundays. Today, we're going to be doing a recap of the September 12th, 2019 debate, going all the way from beginning to end. I hope you enjoy. Alright, so we're going to start off with opening remarks. Everyone was very united, wanted to be united as a country and as a Democratic Party and as a panel. And then it kind of transitioned as it went on because people started to want to differentiate themselves from other candidates more. And a lot of people started to say things like, I'm the only one on this stage who has done this. Let's start with Cory Booker. He said that he was from inner city Newark, which he repeatedly says, which kind of bothers me because he obviously is not below the poverty line. Yang, he did something unprecedented that no Democratic candidate had ever done before, and he said that he's going to give $1,000 a year to 10,000 families as a dividend, which I'm not sure what the legalities of that entail, but we'll see. Moving forward, we have Pete Buttigieg, who addressed 9/11 and said that we should be as united now as we were on September 12th in 2001. Then Kamala Harris directly addressed Trump and said that he uses hate to distract from all of his mistakes and empty promises, and closed by saying he can go back to watching Fox News now, which I loved and thought was great. I also loved how Bernie addressed corporate media bias directly with ABC, who hosted the debate, which was just amazing that they had the courage to do that. Calling them out was a pretty big deal. Bernie, whose opening was saying a little bit of everything about his policies, climate change, healthcare for all, taking on pharma and the big corporations, and taking down Trump. Warren said how she thinks that it's really upsetting that families can't afford to live anymore. Joe Biden focused more on school systems and said that universal pre-K through high school should be for everyone. However, we already have everything but universal pre-K. The first topic covered was healthcare, and we know that Bernie and Warren and Booker are all for Medicare for all, and that Kamala was for Medicare for all but changed her plan and is now more for Obamacare with a public option. Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Castro, and Beto all kind of are going to keep private insurance companies. I don't see the argument that people care about their private insurance providers. And then Elizabeth Warren was asked how they're going to pay for their Medicare for All plan, which was written by Bernie. And she was also asked, will middle class taxes be raised? And the answer to that question is that they're going to pay more taxes if you're a big corporation or extremely wealthy. That's the answer, okay? And then Joe Biden brought up how his Medicare plan is $740 billion versus the Medicare for All plan by Bernie that is $30 trillion. However, it doesn't cover everyone, and people would still have to pay through their private insurance providers. So Medicare for All would be helping more Americans, while Biden's plan is more cost efficient for the government. The next topic of discussion was social justice issues. Beto was for the reparations bill. Castro talked about his police reform plan. And Booker brought up how Trump is racist, and that brought up the question of what are we doing about racism? He said that more African Americans are under supervision today than when we had slaves, which I'm not sure about that measurement. Harris said that she had released her criminal justice plan in the past week, but was asked why she didn't do all of these things when she had the power to as a prosecutor. She came back immediately, had a bunch of examples of what she has done, and I think she came that prepared because previously in the last debate, Tulsi came after her and she was not prepared for it, I don't think. So this time she's like, I'm ready. Amy Klobuchar, they asked her a question and stated it saying that she had no interest in racial justice, and her response was saying that prosecutors don't get to make those kinds of decisions in her state, in Minnesota. I'm not sure how I feel about that. And then she moved into the issue of letting ex-convicts vote. And she is for that. Everyone is pretty much for that. Joe Biden said that we should have rehabs, not prisons. And Booker said that we should release people who are unjustly in jail, which is about 17,000 people. The next topic was gun control, and Biden was asked about how after Sandy Hook, there was a background check gun control bill that died on the Senate floor that he was a big part of. And his response was that he was the only one on the stage that had beat the NRA. Kamala doesn't want any more AK-47s and said that little kids are being traumatized by lockdown drills, but I also think that people are being desensitized to gun violence and it's becoming a little bit too normalized as well. Beto said he just had 2 big shootings in Texas that he's been dealing with, and he said he wants government buybacks and no automatic weapons whatsoever. Amy Klobuchar wants a voluntary buyback program, and she sent a message to Mitch McConnell. And my question here is, do you guys think that politicians saying things like we need to change Mitch McConnell's mind or his perspective will actually make an impact on him? Because I truly can't comprehend, I just don't believe that personally. Anyway, Cory Booker said that he would be the most invested because he has personal passion on this. Warren brought up how there are various issues involved in gun violence, not just mass shootings, and went into how if 90% of the population wants changes in gun policies, then what do we need to go after? Corruption. So that was kind of her starting point for where we need to work from. Bernie said that we should use budget reconciliation law to go around Congress to get things done. Next, we had immigration reform. Biden was VP when 3 million people were deported, which was a record-breaking number. And he said that he would do more now because things have changed. Castro kind of went for Biden in this moment and said that whenever something bad about the Obama administration comes up, he goes, well, I wasn't president. And then when something good comes up, he kind of takes credit for it. Warren said that immigration makes us stronger. And I loved that quote. I thought that was beautiful. Yang said that half of Fortune 500s were created by immigrants, and he wants to get back to that American dream through his economic plans. Pete said that he wants to switch to embracing immigrants, so this is kind of an ongoing theme that everyone has going. And Beto talks about El Paso and Houston being safer because they have immigrants. However, because of the recent El Paso shooting, I know that that's been diminished a little bit. Up next was foreign policy. Warren talked about how trade policy is based off of corporations currently, and she wants to get decisions made by unions and farmers, environmentalists, and human rights activists to use trade to build a stronger economy. Kamala said that we need to sell more of our stuff, and she said that she was the only one on stage who had made progress on these issues. She also made a great joke that no one actually laughed at. She said that Trump reminds her of the guy in the Wizard of Oz that's behind the curtain, that he's really small and stuff. I thought that was funny. Bernie brought up how trade policy represents workers and keeping jobs in the US and working together as a global community. Then the moderator asked Bernie a question pertaining to socialism and talked about Venezuela and Maduro and kind of compared that type of socialism to Bernie. In response, Bernie got very defensive and had a really great response, a good moment there. Joe Biden talked about how if we don't change anything, China's gonna come above us and take over. He had his own little mess up there and said that Pakistan owns the 3 counties in the east, which I thought was funny. Warren talked about how Afghanistan can be dealt with without using the military and by expanding diplomatic efforts and working together. Pete Buttigieg wants to end endless wars, so I believe he's anti-regime. He believes that the president and Congress should collectively make decisions before sending out troops. And he was the only person on this stage who was a veteran and was in Afghanistan, actually. Tulsi, I miss you. Finally, climate change was brought up around 10 o'clock, 2 hours in. I was shocked of this because it is the #1 issue, to me at least, and I think it should be the #1 issue for most people. Anyway, Booker was asked, they said, "You've been vegan since 2015. Do you think other people should be vegan?" And his response was, "No, not at all." And then he went on to talk about how factory farming hurts the environment, but being vegan is actually a sustainable way of helping the environment. I'm not sure where the disconnect there was for him. Then Beto said that he wants to get to net zero by 2050 using renewable energy instead of fossil fuel, paying farmers to use regenerative agriculture, getting kind of the whole population involved in solving this. Amy Klobuchar promised that in her first week as president that she would make a bunch of implementations of things that will help the environment. And Warren wants to cut down CO2 by 70%. Kamala said that she looks at her baby nieces and she's scared what their lives are going to be like, which I think is a common sentiment with my generation, because we are kind of thinking, well, like, I don't want to bring kids into this world if it's going to be dying and there's going to be a lack of resources, which is scary. And she also said she's taken on the fossil fuel companies in California and she'll do it again on a national level. The next topic of discussion was education policy. Yang said that he wants teachers to be paid more and that he wants to deal with socioeconomic and geographic issues through putting more money into neighborhoods through his economic plan. Pete Buttigieg wants to teach more about social and emotional learning and to pay teachers more and treat them better. Warren said that she was the only one on the stage who had been a public school teacher and wants universal pre-K and to cancel student debt completely. Kamala brought up how she wants to put $2 trillion into HBCUs. My only problem with that is that you need to deal with the public education system first so that people can get into those HBCUs. Bernie said directly to the camera, he said, "Guess what? We are the wealthiest country in the history of the world." And then he brought up how we should have free college and no student debt and universal pre-K. We would do so by imposing a tax on Wall Street speculation. Joe Biden said that he would deal with home problems through psychological therapy. He had another funny moment there where he said, "Make sure you have the record player on at night," which is a little behind the times. Cory Booker was asked, how would you better integrate schools? And he said that he'd do it in Newark and that he can do it again. So for closing statements, the question asked was, what does resilience mean to you? So a lot of people gave a lot of personal stories and anecdotes. It got very inspirational. People used a lot of inspirational quotes. Let's just go through it. So Joe Biden talked about how his dad used to tell him it's a matter of how fast you get back up. And similarly, Kamala talked about how her mom said, don't let anyone tell you who you are, you tell them who you are. So kind of bringing along that inspirational feeling. Bernie talked about how he started off getting like 1% in elections and worked his way up, and how he's been taking on powerful special interests his whole life, so he's going to do it again on a national level now. Pete Buttigieg talked about after he was deployed, he came back and was like, I'm gonna come out. And then after he came out, he was elected in a conservative area immediately after, which is a big accomplishment. His closing was, it's about the people who trust us with their lives. That was his closing, and I thought that was very strong. Yang said that he wants to make an economy that allows people to follow their aspirations. And Booker, again, bringing up the fact that he's from Newark, talked about his documentary when he went in the fire to save people. And then he said, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. Beto talked about people recovering from gun violence in his community and how that is resilience to him. And Amy Klobuchar talked about her journey as a mom, leading her into becoming a prosecutor, and she wants to change the tone of the country. The only other thing that I would like to say is thank you for watching, and I hope that you join the conversation. I hope that you comment and talk to each other, and if you want to hear more of this, you can subscribe and turn on your notifications so you know when there's more information coming out. stay informed, and thank you for watching.